Here are 10 foods that you should avoid stockpiling. Number 1, brown rice. Brown rice will go rancid. White rice will last pretty much indefinitely, but brown rice really only lasts about 6 months because of the oil in the brown rice. It will spoil quicker. Brown rice is a very bad thing to stockpile. Brown sugar is number 2. Now, this one could go either way. The reason why you don't want to stockpile brown sugar is because it gets hard. But there is a really easy solution to that. All you have to do is put a piece of bread in the hard brown sugar and it will seal it, and then seal up the package and it will soften back up. Or you can put it in a microwave with a wet paper towel over the bowl and microwave it for a few seconds, and that will soften it up. Don't forget, you can use hard brown sugar. Like if you're putting it in oatmeal, something that's liquid like that, it will soften up in your oatmeal, and then just stir it in and you can eat it. But brown sugar, if you don't mind messing with brown sugar that has hardened over time, you probably don't want to be stockpiling that. Number 3 is whole wheat flour. Yeah, same thing with brown rice. It does not last near as long as white flour, which really doesn't last that long anyway, but whole wheat flour is even worse for shelf lifetime. So if you're stockpiling flour, make sure it's regular white all-purpose bleached flour and not just whole wheat flour. Beef jerky. I know this is a common prepper food, but beef jerky is really expensive and it really only lasts about 1 or 2 years. It really doesn't last that long. So I would not have beef jerky for a long-term stockpile. If you go hiking a lot or camping a lot, then I would go ahead and add some because you could use it up quickly with that. But beef jerky isn't a real good shelf-stable food to have on hand. Next is granola. You would think granola would be a great stockpile food. It's not. Why? Because of the oils that are in the granola that make it taste good and stick together. Granola is oatmeal, fruit, nuts, which also have a lot of oil and go rancid, and then you mix it together with oil and put in some sweetener. We have a great granola recipe in our Dining on a Dime cookbook, so what I would suggest is to keep the ingredients stockpiled, and then if you want granola, I would make homemade granola, but I would not pre-buy granola and stockpile it for long term. So if you need a good granola recipe, the link is in the description below for our granola recipe, and the link is there for our Dining on a Dime cookbooks, which are 25% off right now. Everybody raves about our granola. I love it, made it for years, and it was a staple in our house until I had to go gluten-free. And even then, I still make it with my gluten-free oatmeals. Nuts. Yes, like I said in the granola, nuts contain oil and they spoil rather quickly, actually like 6 months to a year. Now you can put them in the freezer, but I don't know that it's worth wasting freezer space on storing nuts unless you just really, really love them and like having them as part of your diet. Me, I love nuts, but honestly, not enough to use the valuable freezer space that I could use for beef or chicken. Instead, it's just up to you what you want to do on that, but they do not store on the shelf long term. Dried beans. I know, can you believe I'm saying that? Here's the thing with dried beans. You need to make sure that you know how to cook dried beans, that you have the fuel to cook dry beans, and that you are willing to cook dried beans. Dried beans are kind of a pain in the patootie to cook. I'm just gonna warn you right now, you have to soak them and then they take a really long time to cook. So you need to make sure that you're gonna have enough emergency fuel that you're able to cook dried beans. And a lot of people aren't willing to wait the several hours that it takes to cook dry beans, or they don't want to cook dried beans for several hours. So if that's the case, I would store canned beans instead of dried. Crackers. Crackers are not a good long-term food storage. Anything in the cracker family, once again, it's the oils that are in the cracker that make them spoil quickly. Chips, tortilla chips, potato chips. I do know people who have been stockpiling chips. In potato chips. Now, if you eat these on a regular basis and you're able to rotate through them fairly quickly, then go ahead and stockpile yourself some chips or tortilla chips. But for the amount of nutrition that you get in them, they're not the best thing to stockpile. So I would opt for raw ingredients like mashed potato flakes that would have more bulk to them when you made them instead of potato chips. Before I get to the next one, guys, please go check out our Practical Stockpile e-cookbook. It is free in the description below, and we give you all the tips and tricks and recipes to use your stockpile and to make it efficient. Check it out. The link is in the description below. Next is avoid stockpiling anything you don't eat. Now, this would seem obvious, but I will tell you, we get letter after letter of people saying, well, I was told I should stockpile this, but I don't eat it. Don't stockpile it. If you're gluten-free, you're not going to be stockpiling flour, you're going to be stockpiling rice. If you're dairy-free, you're not going to be stockpiling dry milk, you're going to be stockpiling canned coconut milk or something like that. So only stockpile what you eat and what your family is willing to eat and what you're willing to cook. Otherwise, you're just wasting your food and it'll just get thrown away. The objective is to use your stockpile on a regular basis so you're always rotating your food. Guys, go watch this video right here to learn more on how to use your stockpile pantry. Visit us at livingonadime.com.